Hallo.
Guten Tag, meine liebe Freund. It's Rowan from Silver Tiger Media. How are you?
All right.
Laufen so gut, ja?
Schlafen Sie immer noch gut.
30-year reign of success and dominance. I realise this is a very, very broad question, Markus, but how has the journey been for you?
The journey was it's been a long time. There's a lot of music in my life.
Yes, indeed.
In 30 years of, everything you can imagine can happen in rock and roll, in a rock and roll life. You know, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of, parties. We had a lot of hanging out together. But then, on the other hand, there was each and every little detail you can imagine being happened with the rock and roll band. We had problems. We had to make sad decisions. We had everything bad and good it's been in 30 years of Helloween, but still I wouldn't regret a thing.
Absolutely.
A moment,
Yeah, so many ups and downs, I would imagine. Second Hell must seem so long ago.
Yeah, it's been sometimes you have to make some sad decisions. You have to sit together how to get the band rolling, how to work with people or how not to work with people and so on. It's not always easy, it's not always fun, but if you like to keep the band going, you have to sit down together sometimes making some decisions. That's not always funny, but rather than sticking the head in the sand and ignoring it. Therefore, the band was always too important. We sit together, talk about things, and then we have to make decisions. But,
yes,
on the other hand, it's like a lot of fun and a lot of great, glorious situations as well, You can't have just a life like this, only picking out the very, very best rock and roll.
Absolutely, yes, indeed. And I presume that a lot of band members will be listening to what you're saying and keeping that perseverance. You and Michael have been the original constant.
Mm-hmm. It's like when you start off, you don't think about things like that. Of course, you have arguments with record companies, with management and all that. But then comes personal problems and all, because you started it because of you only wanted to have the fun of it, and you of course thought, it would be great to get some money doing the music and all that, thinking about the big rock star dream and all that, which is quite all right. You have to think like this to make the next step, to go a step ahead, to start your career. Otherwise, it wouldn't be working. You have to have that big dream, but then you suddenly learn that something else is coming with it as well.
Yes,
it's just a whole life. It's just not you go to work and then you put your problems away once you finish work. It's experienced, if you start a band and you go yourself on your nerves, and then you separate. After a couple of years, you would never learn how it is to deal with problems, and you have to be willing also going into that sad situations, trying to solve them instead of only thinking, there's a problem, we gotta quit, or there's no money and we can't carry on, and you gotta find a way to get out of the mess, and that's what you do together as a band,
Wonderful.
And that's something you have to experience. That's actually the greatest experience I've made all through the years, that we could sit together and then talk about things and then get the problem out of the way, even though it's like a cruel decision you have to make, If you're not willing to do this, you're not going to make it far, I guess. Because
Indeed.
It's like a big, not only, that's kind of an attitude I like about Helloween, always we have to deal with it, otherwise the band is gone.
Yes, and a wonderful philosophy again. It's my God-given right. It's wunderbar. I wish to ask you firstly about the cover art. Can you please explain the meaning behind that brilliant image on the cover?
Well, it's just it's not a big kind of concept. It's not a big thing behind it. It's just like a big statement, I guess. You can do whatever you like. You can be whatever you like to be, as long as you don't hurt anybody, or as long as you're not going too much on the nerves of your neighbors or whatsoever. You know what I'm talking about? You can, because actually you have the God-given right to do anything you like to do, but traveling around the world, as we did in all those years, I realized it's not everywhere in the world people are able to do anything or say anything they like, you know. I've grown up in a society where there's democracy and all that. I was able to you know, complain and to talk about this, to talk about that. Traveling around the world, I can definitely say it's not everywhere like this, you know.
Yeah.
And you got to go out to see it, and then that statement becomes a different quality, you know.
Yeah, indeed. Look, this album, for me at least, is a clear demonstration, thankfully, that as a group you've decided you will stick with what you love producing no matter what. Would that be a fair comment?
Yeah, and this kind of thing. We start music, you have to fight a lot, because it's not like you're doing a record and bang, you have money, and bang, you have success, and bang, you have everything you need. We started off in a little tour bus where there wasn't any possibility to sleep and cruising around, but still you have to go through that, you know, and you got the right to do it. You got the right to say no if it's too much for you, even, but, you know, you got to decide. You got decisions.
Most certainly. And the music really is a journey back to those earlier days, but with a fresh new edge. Is that what you were aiming for?
Sorry again?
The music. The music really is a journey back to those earlier days, but with a new, contemporary, fresh edge. Is that what you were aiming for?
It gets easier the longer we work together with that lineup. You know, it's just like the longer you work together, the stronger the unit gets we create in Helloween, you know. It's like everybody knows what everybody wants, and we didn't sit together saying we're going to do a conceptual kind of thing. We just said after the last tour, let's go home, back home, write some cool killer tracks, and then bring them out and go out and kill, you know. That kind of attitude I pretty much like. You know?
Yes, indeed. And look, this is a selfish question, but as a 30-year fan, I have to ask you, this is in my humble opinion, your very best work for a whole range of different reasons. But is it possible that you'll keep going for another 30 years and keep setting the bar higher and higher with each release?
I'll be very, very old in 20 years. I will be on being 70 years old. I'm not quite sure, but I'm listening. I'm looking forward to the next decade, you know, and see what happens then. Like, give us some 10 years, and we'll be around the world for a couple of times, and then we'll see what happens then, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna make it. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're gonna make it for the next 10 years and see what happens then.
Terrific.
30 years would be. I'll be 80 then. Who's 80?
I realise it's optimistic.
Is someone of the Rolling Stones already 80 yet?
Oh, goodness me. I don't think they're quite there yet.
They wouldn't tell you.
Exactly.
Well, give me another 30 years, and when I'm 80, I'll tell the people I'm 65.
Most certainly. to me, this album is
that will work.
Well, that would work. To me, this album is the perfect culmination of your previous works, but is there essentially a difference between this album and your previous albums?
Sorry, again, please?
For the band, is there a difference between this album and your previous works? To me, it seems the perfect culmination of the last 30 years, but is there a difference for you?
They go together very well, you know, because we got that way of working we do. Since we said, well, let's do some killer tracks, and then let's get the best out of it. We had like 18 tracks, and actually we're going home writing individual in our own private corners, which we need after a long tour. It's just like very hard. Go back to another place, then hooking up together in another town. You need a bit of silence. You need a bit of, you know, your own environment to do some songs. And well, it's just suddenly the songs are just there, and so it seems to be a very, very good way of working. And
absolutely.
since we do that, it will work well, you know.
Yeah, yep. Look, and you have inspired quite literally a vast moshing mass of musicians throughout the last 30 years over the world. Do you often find thanks being expressed to you for your inspiration to others?
It's like, yeah, some people are started off like sounding a little like Helloween, being inspired by Helloween, but then it was interesting to look how they developed and how they slowly found their own kind of style, you know. Yeah. And nowadays they won't really sound like Helloween anymore, but they started off like we had like influences from the bands we were listening to at the time, just trying to create something very, very own, you know, which was not easy. We could have easily done some normal hard rock at the time, but which was everybody was doing, but it wouldn't really bring you any further, you know. So we had to think how to work with the influence you get and inventing something new for your own style, you know. That's what we kind of did.
Indeed, and obviously you were inspired to do that very early, picking up the bass at the age.
And tried, let's try. So we got a lot of influence. So we give a lot of influence to other people. They probably might say that it's something cool. Let's try something like this. And people talking to me saying, "All right, thanks. Without you guys, I wouldn't be here today." And people shows with like children being 16, 17, 18, even 20 years old, and telling me, "This is my kid." You know, I was listening to your band when I was 18. And they come to the shows with their kids now, you know. We have like 2 generations already. Indeed. And that's the thing I'm waiting. Like, if we can make it for the 3rd generation, you know, then you have like...
That'd be wonderful.
I have the idea if the grandfather comes with a son and the son, you know, the youngest son will get in for free.
Terrific. I want to tell you, I'm going to get working on that straight away. I've got a 13-year-old son who just loves your music, and of course I've been a fan for years. I have to ask you, how is Bass Invaders going?
That was an idea I had because I never heard something like this, although, I don't know, some told me there was something like this before, but I thought it's just a cool idea to do something very, very different from Helloween, you know. I thought it's a cool idea. I have a couple of friends here in Germany. We wrote some songs, and inviting all those guest stars playing the solo bits, you know, because I was too lazy, and if I play 1 or 2 solos, after that I would repeat myself, and so it's in that manner it's a nice combination, and also it's some of my very heroes are on the records playing some solo. I like it a lot. It's something very, very different, which is not, you know, done for huge success or something, but it's been a real great experiment and for me and a challenge. And I kind of like it. You know,
so do I. Hell, Bass Invaders is one of my favourites. On a side note, do you think we might see a little bit more of Shock Machine?
Well, we see at the moment we're really, really busy with Helloween. You know, we're working on records. Now we start rehearsing. In 3 weeks we start rehearsing, and after doing this record, there won't be simply any time left to record stuff like this at the moment. You know.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. At the moment, I feel very, very well just doing Helloween. You know.
Yes.
Because you're not faster when you get older.
Indeed. Now, I want you to understand that I'm speaking for a great many of the Australian heavy metal community here, as is my God-given right.
Sorry?
I want to ask you, no, we're happy to beg. Is there any chance, please, of an Australian tour with this album?
Yeah, we were talking about when we got one big festival show in Japan, maybe August or September or October, I can't remember. And then this will be actually a great chance from Japan flying over to Australia rather than going back home and then going to Australia from Germany and going back, you know.
Oh, wonderful. That would be tremendous.
Like a couple of shows right after Japan because it's kind of easy to go there from Japan. And I guess this year and the last third of this year or in the last quarter of this year, we'll come over to you guys and we'll be sweating in the heat.
Oh, wonderful. And we'll put the heat on for you, I assure you. It's very cold here at the moment, but we'll make sure the heat's on at that time of year.
That's what we were just talking about when we did the clip,
Yes.
Last week. Yeah. And we thought it's a good idea coming over for like 1 or 2 weeks, doing some killer shows and then go home.
Oh, that is absolutely wonderful news, and we keep our fingers crossed that it comes to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goodness me. Helloween have toured endlessly, and in some unique places such as La Paz and Borneo, the Brazilian jungle. But do you have a Markus Grosskopf best live show ever?
No, what? Markus Grosskopf what?
Best live show ever. Something that you've really enjoyed as one standout show throughout your time.
Best show ever. But of course Borneo was great, and I can remember when we did the I don't know if it was the best, but I quite can remember a couple of shows. Donington was very, very interesting, although it was probably not the best live show ever, but it was kind of interesting because wonderful. we did this amount of people for the very first time, and then we had like once we did this I Want Out clip in Pamplona, it was right before a show in a bullfighting arena in Spain, in Pamplona, and then after all that shooting in the desert, we had the show in that bullfighting arena where the sunset was going on while we were playing.
Oh, wow.
The sundown was going on while we were playing. That was quite great, we were in a very, very good mood. And also like the recordings we did for the live DVD there was some great shootings going on. There was some great shows going on that we did for the live on the couple of continents.
Yeah.
Live on some continents. That was some great we did over there. That was very, very emotional, because people were going crazy and they knew it's going to be a DVD recording. And they went very emotional, and the band gets in the best shape, and that was something really, really great. I love that.
Oh, tremendous! Well, look, I realise time flies. I could honestly speak to you all day, Markus, and I thank you very much for your time today. Congratulations again.
Thank you. And see you soon, maybe.
Oh, hopefully, fingers crossed. We hope it happens. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Dankeschön. Auf Wiedersehen.
Ciao.